The planet of Zarathus glimmered beneath twin suns, its surface a sparkling mosaic of crystal forests and silver rivers. Towers of polished gemstone reached skyward, reflecting the light in dazzling patterns. The people of Zarathus, called the Luminaries, moved gracefully through these crystal halls, their skin catching the sunlight like living prisms. Among them was Princess Ilara, the young heir to the royal throne. Known across the galaxy for her wisdom and kindness, despite her tender age. On the day of the sacred renewal ceremony, the palace thrummed with energy. Luminaries' families, advisors, and visitors from distant planets gathered in the central hall, where the ceremony had been performed for centuries. The ritual was meant to strengthen the connection between the royal family and the life force of Zarathus itself. Crystal spires hummed, and soft light pulsed through the air. Ilara moved with poise, wearing a gown of flowing silver fabric woven with tiny, light-capturing threads. She approached the ceremonial pedestal, where the central crystal of Zarathus shimmered. The room quieted. Her parents, King Thalos and Queen Virene, watched with pride and care, their faces radiant with hope. Today, my daughter will renew the bond that protects our planet, King Thalos announced, his voice steady but filled with anticipation. The audience responded with gentle hums, a sign of reverence. Ilara placed her hands upon the central crystal. Immediately, a soft hum filled the hall. The light surrounding her began to glow brighter. The energy of the planet seemed to dance along her skin. But then something strange happened. The glow around Ilara flickered. Her eyes, which had always been bright and lively, slowly closed. She froze mid-motion, her hands hovering above the crystal. The hum faltered. The light dimmed. Father? Mother? Ilara's voice, barely a whisper, drifted through the hall. And then, silence. Gasps filled the room. Guards stepped forward, but King Thalos raised a hand to stop them. Do not touch her. Let the sacred energy flow as it must, he commanded, though his voice shook with worry. Queen Virene knelt beside her daughter. Ilara, my child, can you hear me? She whispered, her fingers trembling as she touched her daughter's arm. The princess did not move. Her body felt cool and rigid, like a crystal herself. The palace healers rushed forward. They examined her carefully, scanning her vital energies. Every device, every test, confirmed the impossible. Ilara was alive, but completely unresponsive. Her heart beat steadily, her mind functioned, but she seemed trapped inside her own body. This is unprecedented, one healer muttered. We have never seen anything like this. The royal council gathered in emergency session. Every member of the family was present, their usual calm, replaced by tense worry. Whispers filled the chamber. How long will she remain like this? One advisor asked, fear in his voice. We do not know, the lead healer admitted. The sacred renewal ceremony is ancient. King Thalos clenched his fists. We must protect her. Nothing is more important than our daughter's life. Queen Virene's eyes glistened with unshed tears. Is there nothing we can do? She asked, her voice breaking. One of the younger advisors hesitated, then spoke. There are rumors, distant tales of humans who carry strange energies. Some say their touch can awaken those in impossible states. The council froze. A human? The Luminaris rarely interacted with other species beyond trade envoys. Humans were distant and unknown to most of them. Impossible, another advisor said firmly. We must rely on our science and sacred rituals, not tales. But Queen Virene could not dismiss it. She remembered stories from her childhood, whispered by travelers, of humans whose presence seemed to heal and inspire life. And now, staring at her frozen daughter, She was willing to consider any hope, no matter how distant. Meanwhile, in the outer colonies of Zarathis, a young human named Kale was preparing for his journey to the capital. Kale had come to Zarathis seeking knowledge. He was fascinated by alien cultures, their technology, and their ways of life. He carried with him only his curiosity and a deep respect for life in all its forms. As Kale's shuttle landed near the royal palace, he felt an unusual energy in the air. It was not the mechanical hum of machines or the familiar pull of gravity. It was something softer, warmer, and strangely welcoming. He walked carefully through the crystalline streets, marveling at the architecture. Children played near shimmering fountains, and the trees glowed faintly in the sunlight. He had no idea that the princess, the hope of the luminaries, lay frozen in the palace at that very moment. But fate has a way of weaving paths together when least expected. Back in the palace, days passed, and Alara remained motionless. The royal family never left her side. The healers tried everything: energy stimulation, biochemical treatments, even ancient chants that were said to strengthen the bond between body and soul. Nothing worked. The people of Zarathis began to grow anxious, fearing the loss of their future queen. One evening, Queen Virene stood by her daughter's bedside, her hand gently resting on Alara's arm. The crystal halls reflected the light of the twin suns, casting dancing patterns across her worried face. "If there is anyone, any creature that can help you, I will find them," she whispered. That night, KL arrived at the palace gates, seeking permission to observe the culture and learn from the healers. He did not know why, but he felt drawn to the palace, as if some invisible thread pulled him closer. The palace guards were wary. Humans were rare, and visitors from other planets often caused tension. But the queen herself appeared, her regal presence calm, yet urgent. "Welcome," she said. "I am Queen Virene. Perhaps you can help." Kale bowed slightly. "Your Majesty, I am here only to learn, but I will do my best in any way I can." The queen hesitated, then led him to the chamber where the princess lay. Kale's eyes widened at the sight. Alara's body glimmered faintly, as if her own light was trapped inside. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. "I have heard tales of humans," the queen said softly, "that sometimes their presence, or their touch, can awaken life when nothing else can. I do not know if it is true, but I have no other hope." Kale felt a strange warmth spread through him. He did not understand why, but he knew he had to try. He approached the princess carefully, his heart steady and his mind focused. "Princess Alara," he whispered, "I will not harm you. I am here to help." He reached out and gently touched her hand. The moment his skin met hers, a faint pulse of light shimmered across her crystal-like skin. Kale felt it too, a small, gentle energy that seemed to resonate with his own life force. In that instant, something shifted. The crystal halls seemed to hum softly. The air shimmered. The healers and the royal family, standing at a distance, felt it too, though they could not see its source. Kale withdrew slightly, unsure of what would happen next. But he noticed her fingers twitch. A tiny movement, but enough to bring a flicker of hope. Queen Virene's eyes widened. It is possible," she whispered. The stories were true. The palace was filled with a quiet sense of wonder. The impossible had begun. The princess, frozen for days, was starting to respond. And Kale, the human who had come only to learn, had unknowingly stepped into history. He did not yet know the full power of his presence, or the journey that awaited him. But in that moment, hope had returned to Zarathis. The story of the princess and the human was only beginning, and already it promised to change the future of the Luminaris forever. The palace of Zarathis was unusually quiet that morning. The crystal halls, which normally sang with the hum of energy and the footsteps of many, now seemed to hold their breath. Princess Alara still lay on the ceremonial bed, her body frozen yet radiant. A soft glow tracing the curves of her crystal-like skin. But something had changed. A subtle warmth radiated from her form, and the faintest hint of movement stirred in her fingers. Kyle, the human who had arrived just days before, was now at her side. He had not left since that first touch, guided by a strange pull he could not explain. He had studied her, not with scientific instruments alone, but with careful observation and quiet attention. There was something about Ilara's energy, her life force, that resonated differently with him than anything he had ever experienced. "Her pulse is stronger today," whispered one healer, who had been silently observing from the doorway. Kyle nodded, though he said nothing. Words seemed unnecessary. He approached Ilara slowly, mindful not to startle her. He placed his hand gently over hers. Immediately, the room shimmered with faint light, and the princess's chest gave a subtle rise, as if she were breathing more deeply than before. King Thalos and Queen Virene, who had been standing at a distance, gasped softly. They had seen tiny signs of life the previous day, but this was different. The glow was brighter, warmer, and undeniably responsive to the human's presence. Could it be him? The queen whispered to her husband, her voice trembling with a mixture of hope and disbelief. The king nodded slowly, his eyes fixed on the human and his daughter. "It seems so. We must be cautious. But perhaps this human carries a gift we do not understand." Kyle focused intently. He could feel a gentle vibration, a rhythm within Ilara's body that seemed almost like a song. The more he concentrated, the more the rhythm synchronized with his own heartbeat. He realized, with astonishment, that his life energy somehow interacted with hers. "Princess Ilara," he said softly, "I am here. You are safe. I will help you." A tiny movement followed his words. Her eyelids fluttered once, then twice, as though testing her own ability to awaken. Kale's eyes widened with hope. He gently spoke to her, his voice steady but filled with warmth. "You are stronger than you know. Trust yourself. Let your light return." Slowly, Ilara's fingers twitched again, and a faint pulse of light traveled along her arm. The healers exchanged amazed glances, unable to hide their astonishment. Never before had anyone seen such a response. However, not all were convinced. One of the council advisors stepped forward, his brow furrowed. "This is risky. You do not know what might happen. She is fragile. Perhaps we should stop this human and rely on our own technology." Queen Virene's eyes flashed with quiet authority. "No," she said firmly. "If this human can reach her, we must not interfere. We have tried all else, and nothing has worked. Let him continue. It may be the only hope we have." The advisor stepped back, reluctantly, and Kale continued. He closed his eyes briefly, feeling every pulse, every flicker of light from Ilara's form. He realized that the energy flowing through her was not just biological, it was tied to the planet itself. Zarathus's life force pulsed through her, and his own human energy seemed to harmonize with it. Minutes passed. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the palace and the gentle pulse of energy between human and princess. Then, a small miracle occurred. Ilara's eyes opened, just a fraction, revealing a shimmer of color, blue and silver, like sunlight on water. She blinked, as though adjusting to the world around her. The healers gasped aloud. King Thalos and Queen Virene stepped forward, tears welling in their eyes. "Ilara!" the queen exclaimed, her voice a mixture of relief and joy. The princess's lips moved, forming the first word since her mysterious slumber. "Who are you?" Kale smiled gently. "I am Kale." Ilara's eyes widened as she looked at him. There was confusion, yes, but also a sense of recognition. as though a distant memory had sparked. I cannot move," she said, her voice still faint and uncertain. "Just a little more," Kale said softly. "You are safe now. Feel your strength. You are not alone." Gradually, she attempted to lift her hand, and Kale supported her gently. The room seemed to vibrate with quiet energy as her body slowly regained control. The glow around her brightened, shimmering across the crystal walls of the palace. King Thalos stepped closer, his expression a mixture of awe and pride. "It is extraordinary," he murmured. "A human has done what no technology or ritual could achieve." Queen Virene knelt beside her daughter, brushing strands of silver hair from her face. "My child, you are back," she said softly. "We thought we had lost you." Ilara's eyes welled with tears, not just from relief, but from a sudden understanding of the bond forming between herself and the human who had awakened her. She looked at Kale and whispered, "You saved me." Kale shook his head. "You saved yourself. I only helped you find your own strength." Two. The healers, still observing, noted something remarkable. Ilara's body, though fragile at first, now seemed to resonate with an energy beyond what they had seen. Her vital signs were strong, and her connection to Zarathus seemed even more vibrant than before. As the day progressed, Ilara's strength returned. She walked slowly through the palace halls, Kale supporting her gently. Each step she took seemed to bring light and warmth, as though her very presence energized the crystal floors beneath her feet. Visitors and advisors whispered among themselves. The story of the human who had awakened the princess spread quickly, though many found it difficult to believe. Some were awed, while others were wary. The idea that an outsider, a being so different from the luminaries, could influence their sacred princess was revolutionary. Ilara's parents watched her closely, their faces reflecting a mixture of wonder and cautious hope. "This human may be more than we imagined," King Thalos said quietly to Queen Virene. The queen nodded. "Perhaps humans carry a gift we have never understood. Perhaps there is more to the universe than we realize." By evening, Ilara was able to sit unassisted. Kael remained nearby, his presence calming both the princess and the healers. She studied him with curiosity, noting his human features, the warmth in his eyes, the steadiness in his hands, and the quiet confidence that had guided her back to life. "You are unlike anyone I have ever met," she said softly. "And you are unlike anyone I have ever known," Kael replied. "Your energy, your life, it is remarkable. I have never felt anything like it." A new understanding passed between them, silent but powerful. The human and the princess were connected in a way that defied explanation. It was more than life force. It was trust, empathy, and a shared courage that neither fully understood yet. That night, as the twin suns set over the crystal horizon, the palace glowed softly in the fading light. Ilara rested comfortably in her chambers, no longer frozen, no longer helpless. Kale stood by her window, gazing at the stars above Zarathus. He wondered about the mysteries that had brought him here, and what challenges lay ahead. For the royal family, the human's touch had done what they thought impossible. Their daughter, the hope of Zarathus, was alive. Their hearts were filled with gratitude, and their minds with awe. But even in the calm, a quiet question lingered in the air. How had a human, so distant from their world, carried the power to awaken their princess? And what did this mean for the future of Zarathus? Unbeknownst to them, the universe was watching. Rumors of the princess's revival and the human's mysterious power would soon reach other worlds. Some would come with curiosity, others with ambition, but all would recognize the extraordinary bond that had just been forged. For now, though, peace settled over the palace. Kael and Ilara, two beings from different worlds, had crossed a boundary that few could understand. Together, they had sparked hope, and that hope would grow into something far greater than anyone could imagine. The journey was only beginning. The palace of Zarathus had never felt so alive. Crystal walls reflected soft sunlight, and the hum of energy pulsed gently through the halls. Princess Ilara walked confidently now, her steps steady, her light returning stronger than before. Every person she passed could feel the change, an aura of hope, courage, and life that had been absent during her frozen days. Kale, the human who had awakened her, remained at her side. He had grown used to the palace's rhythms and the gentle glow of the Luminaries' people. Yet, despite his increasing comfort, he could sense that Ilara's awakening was only the beginning. The princess, while restored, was also a symbol, a living bridge between humans and Luminaries, a connection that many did not yet fully understand. King Thalos and Queen Virene watched their daughter with pride and careful concern. "She is stronger than ever," the king said quietly, to the queen's delight. "And the human, he is remarkable. Who would have thought a being from another world could awaken the hope of Zarathus?" Queen Virene nodded. "Perhaps it is more than his presence. Perhaps humans carry something within them we have never noticed, a gift that complements our own energy. We must respect it and learn from it." Ilara, now fully aware and alert, called Kael to her side. "Kael," she said, her voice steady and warm, "I am ready to understand. I want to know why your touch awakened me, and what it means for my people." Kael bowed slightly. "Princess, I do not know why it worked at first, but I think it is because we are connected by more than life energy. It is trust and belief and the willingness to help each other. I only did what felt right." Ilara studied him, her mind racing with curiosity. "Then, perhaps we can do more. Perhaps your presence can help my people in ways we have never imagined." The palace healers, who had been observing their interactions, whispered among themselves. They noted that the energy of Ilara's body seemed to stabilize more easily now. Kael's presence no longer merely aided her recovery, it enhanced it. The potential for cooperation between humans and Luminaris was unprecedented. Word of Ilara's awakening and Kael's involvement spread across Zarathus like wildfire. Citizens gathered near the palace gates, eager to see their princess alive and well. They marveled at the human who had helped her, many of them curious, some cautious, but all filled with wonder. Even as Zarathus celebrated, news reached neighboring planets. Some worlds viewed the human's role as miraculous, a sign of hope and unity. Others, however, saw it as an opportunity. If humans could influence powerful rulers, perhaps they could be used to gain control. Rumors and whispers traveled through the galaxy, hinting at challenges yet to come. Within the palace, life began to return to normal, though nothing was quite as it had been. Ilara worked closely with Kael, learning from him as he observed her culture and taught her about humans and their abilities. They spent hours discussing energy, life, and the balance between their species. "You know," Kael said one evening as they walked through the crystal gardens, "humans often rely on touch, presence, and connection. Perhaps that is why it worked. You responded to what I felt, not just to technology or ritual." Ilara smiled. "It is strange to think that someone from another world could help me in a way no Luminaris could. Yet, I am grateful. You have changed my life and the life of my people." Kael's eyes reflected humility. "I only guided. The strength was always within you." As days turned into weeks, the royal family realized that Ilara's revival had more than personal significance, it had political importance. Rivals in other star systems, upon hearing the news, began to approach Zarathus with offers and requests. Curious about the human who had restored their princess, some came seeking alliances, others merely observation. One morning, as Kael and Ilara walked through the palace hall, an emissary from a neighboring planet arrived. Your Highness, the emissary said respectfully, we have heard of your miraculous awakening. We wish to learn more, and perhaps cooperate with your world. Elara looked at Kyle, then back at the emissary. We welcome knowledge and cooperation, she said. But Zarathus remains sovereign. Any help must respect our people and our ways. The emissary bowed. Of course, Princess. We only wish to observe and exchange wisdom. Kyle noticed the careful diplomacy in her voice. Elara, though young, had grown wiser from her experience. Her bond with him had not only saved her life, but strengthened her judgment and compassion. The royal family, too, had changed. King Thalos and Queen Virene began considering a future where humans and Luminaris could collaborate more closely. They discussed trade, knowledge exchange, and perhaps joint exploration of uncharted worlds. The possibilities seemed limitless. Elara spent time with her people, visiting schools, workshops, and energy centers. Everywhere she went, Kale accompanied her. Children laughed as they touched Kale's hands, curious about the human who had saved their princess. Adults asked questions, seeking to understand his abilities. Kale, in turn, learned more about the Luminaries than any outsider had before. During a quiet evening in the palace gardens, Elara spoke with her parents. Mother, father. Kale's touch did more than awaken me. It reminded us all that life is stronger when we trust, when we work together, and when we open ourselves to new ideas. Perhaps this is the start of something greater. Queen Virene smiled, tears of joy in her eyes. Yes, my child. You have returned stronger than ever, and with this human, we may discover a new era for our people. King Thalos nodded. We must protect this bond and nurture it. The universe will watch, and our actions now will shape the future. Indeed, the universe was watching. Soon, other planets began sending envoys to Zarathus, curious about the princess and the human. Some brought gifts, some sought knowledge, and some merely observed, testing the strength and harmony of this new alliance. Elara and Kyle, aware of their growing responsibility, took time each day to strengthen their understanding of one another's cultures. Elara taught Kyle about Zarathus's life energy, its sacred rituals, and its history. Kyle shared knowledge about humans, their resilience, curiosity, and unique ways of connecting with life itself. Together, they discovered that collaboration between species could produce wonders far beyond imagination. One day, while walking through the crystal corridors, Kyle paused. Princess, have you ever thought about what your awakening means for the future? For Zarathus and beyond? Elara looked thoughtful. Yes. It is no longer just about me. It is about our people, our planet, and the connections we can form with others. We cannot ignore what has happened. It is a chance to guide our world toward unity, to learn, and to grow. Kale nodded. Then let us do it together. We can help your people, and they can help us. The universe is vast, but if we are united, we can face whatever comes. Days turned into months. The palace halls, once quiet with worry, now resonated with hope and collaboration. Kyle and Elara worked side by side, leading their people toward understanding and cooperation. Scientists, healers, and diplomats from many worlds visited Zarathus, exchanging knowledge and forming alliances. The princess, once trapped in a crystalline slumber, became a symbol of unity and the extraordinary potential of humans and Luminaris working together. One evening, as the twin suns set, casting long streaks of gold and silver across the palace, Elara stood on a balcony overlooking her city. The streets glimmered with energy, people moved with purpose, and the air was filled with quiet excitement. Kale joined her, his hand resting gently on hers. You see what we have started, Elara asked softly. Kale smiled. Yes, and this is only the beginning. The princess turned to her parents, who watched from behind, their faces filled with pride. Mother, father, the future is brighter than we imagined. Together, we can protect Zerethis, learn from others, and inspire hope across the galaxy. Queen Virene stepped forward, placing a hand on Elara's shoulder. You have grown stronger than we ever hoped, my child. You have taught us all that courage, trust, and compassion can bridge worlds. King Thalos nodded. And this human, Kael, has shown us that life can be full of surprises, and that every being, no matter where they come from, can make a difference. Elara and Kael exchanged a look, a quiet understanding passing between them. Their journey had begun with uncertainty and fear, but it had grown into hope and purpose. Together, they had sparked a new era, one in which humans and Luminaris could learn, grow, and thrive as allies. As night fell over Zerethis, the palace glimmered under the stars, a beacon of life and unity. Princess Elara, fully restored, stood proudly beside Kael. Her family, her people, and even the universe watched in awe. The future had arrived, shining brighter than any crystal, filled with promise, wonder, and the unbreakable bonds of trust and courage. And so, the story of the human who awakened a princess became legend not just on Zerethis, but across the stars, a story of hope, unity, and the extraordinary power of compassion.